Right now, time to bring in Brian Ross. It's time for Real News. Brian joins us every week at this time. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning, Marshall. A day in which originally was the inauguration day under the U.S. Constitution, and in which some right-wing zealots believe will be the inauguration of Donald Trump.
Yeah, March 4th is the date. And, here's the great thing about conspiracy theories, if there is a great thing. The conspiracy theorists now have a conspiracy theory on top of the conspiracy theory. Some of the QAnon people that are planning on going to this whatever might happen today are saying that they're not going now because this is actually a plot by the U.S. government to get them to show up to arrest them.
As you say, that's the beauty of conspiracies. There's no requirement to be consistent or logical at all. Yet they have Congress has left town. They voted last night, so they didn't have to vote today, and they are prepared for a possible another siege of the Capitol. Not likely to happen with the advance word, but it's a sad commentary on what's going on with this group. And let's remember that over the weekend in Orlando, Florida, the former president of the United States continued to insist that he had the election stolen from him, that he had actually won, which just gives fuel to this fire.
Well, he's not going to stop. The only thing that's going to stop Donald Trump from doing that will eventually be the lawsuits that go into court, and he'll have to talk about something else because he'll have to defend himself. There's 4 or 5 lawsuits that are right now that are going to be pursued, and a couple, one by Washington, D.C., and another one, of course, the Southern District in New York. So I think once all those come out, is a time where he's going to have to change his tune because he's going to be very busy defending himself on a lot of different matters. So I think once he stops talking about it and things move on, and more information comes out in these suits, I think it'll eventually die down. Now the diehards will not stop thinking that he won the election. They just won't. And that's why it's even sadder to see what some Republicans are doing to try to woo those 70 million people. They're not supporting Donald Trump. They're not supporting Donald Trump at all. What they're trying to do is they expect Donald Trump to be really not eligible to run, and they're looking for his 70-plus million voters.
Absolutely, and they're playing on that, and it's despicable, but it's happening. And so it's something that we should keep an eye on and be aware of the fact that these conspiracies, these lies, when they are given a megaphone like Fox News or elsewhere, they do spread, and there are people who are gullible enough or eager enough to believe them.
Now, I do have friends that are Donald Trump supporters. I have a lot of friends are, but you know what? Most of my friends they are not dwelling on that topic. What they do is what I did when Donald Trump was in office. They dwell on their differences of policy with Joe Biden. I find that perfectly an acceptable way to move forward. If you supported a candidate and another candidate won, and that other candidate is doing things that you don't want done, don't revert back to the election was stolen. Revert back to the fact that, okay, let's put some pressure on the current president and see if we can get some of those policies moderated.
Absolutely, and that's what should happen. And there are certainly those who supported his economic policies, but in a way I think they were bought off of the lower taxes and benefits for the wealthy, and they accepted everything else because they got what they wanted in their wallet.
All right, and here's something that has concerned me ever since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. As a person of girth, means I'm overweight, folks. I don't use the term fat, even though I've lost now almost 76 pounds since the pandemic.
Well, good for you. That's great.
It's my pandemic diet. I don't go anywhere, and I just eat 3 meals a day, and I keep it under 1,800 calories a day. Yeah. It's very simple to do when you don't go anyplace. But COVID death rates really across the world are 10 times higher where adults are overweight. And if you see a lot of the pictures of the younger people, when I say younger, 55 to 60, that have died, most of them are overweight. And, it's something that as a person who has struggled with weight his whole life, really does understand you really are what you eat. And I feel much better now than I did a year ago. much more nimbler, even though I still need double knee surgery. I think if I didn't lose that weight, I wouldn't be walking around right now. So, this country and everybody has to understand that COVID-19 and other diseases, a lot can be mediated by just being a little healthier.
Well, healthy living, and there is now some suggestion that overweight people who have a certain body mass index, should be among the first to get the vaccine because they are more likely to perish because of it.
Well, I got the vaccine, and my soreness is gone already.
Oh, good. How long did it take you to get an appointment?
Well, the minute that they opened up the avenue for people 65 and older, I went to the VAMS website and applied, and at that point, it was 2.5 weeks before I got my appointment. When I showed up at the appointment at High Watch in Kent, this is no lie, I talk about this, and this is, I checked in, all right? I had filled out all the stuff on the computer in advance. I checked in, they sent me to another lady. I thought I was just going to sit down and give her more information. Nope, she asked me 3 questions, pulled out the needle, boom, gave me the shot, and then I waited around for 15 minutes. So the whole thing took me 18 minutes, 3 minutes basically, to get the shot. So what I tell people that are talking to me now, you go through the VAMS system, and if you can't, you can go to 211. They'll have somebody go through it with you. Set everything up. They'll give you your date. It probably right now is going to be a 1.5 to 3 weeks. But once you do that, you're all set and you can get your vaccination. There's just so many people in Connecticut now that are eligible to get the vaccination. Right. That is going to slow things down. But the VAMS website did work perfectly. I give it a lot of credit.
It did for you. I can report, trying to obtain an appointment for a family member, that it was in Sharon Hospital is no longer listed as a possible place. The Kent location only is taking no new clients whatsoever, only second doses. And I finally got a phone number and spent 1 hour and 59 minutes yesterday waiting for it to be answered. And then, when it was answered, I was able to get an appointment in the middle of March for my wife.
Yeah, the Sharon Hospital right now can only give second shots. Second shots. And what happened since the same thing now over in Kent with High Watch, second shots, but they also have an investigation going on by the state because they held, I think it was a vaccination clinic someplace else, and they didn't get state approval for that site. So I think that that's what's contributing to the factor down there. But I can tell you, they run their clinic in Kent extremely well.
Yes, indeed. I received a vaccination there as well, and it was like going to a high-class restaurant with a concierge with a clipboard, takes your name, have you seated, and your table will be ready in a minute, sir, except it was a shot.
But there's so many things that are going on right now, and then when you add to the frustration to people that are waiting to get their shots, you have a couple of states that decide right now their economy is more important, and they've listed I think it's Louisiana, and Texas are the states that have now dropped not South Dakota and Texas. There are no,
and Mississippi are in there, and as President Biden called them yesterday, Neanderthals.
Yeah, it's just insane. I do have to comment. And have you been following SpaceX at all?
Somewhat, yes.
Well, their huge rocket ship,
right,
which went up about a month and a half ago and exploded on a return because it didn't sit right. It actually went up 8 miles and then did the flip around, and it landed. But about 30 seconds after landing, it blew up. One thing I'll give to Musk, he considers all these things just test runs, but it really is pretty amazing when you take a look at our Mars, what's going on Mars, and we're testing rockets that now look like scientific. No one ever thought that a rocket would come down and land like Musk is doing.
No, a stunning use of technology, and the landing on Mars was something to behold, really. So far away, such a long-distance mission, and it went like clockwork.
Now, what do you think about President Biden responding with airstrikes in the Mideast?
Well, I suppose that was required to keep Iran in check. Something needed to be done, and perhaps it's a measured response. I see he has begun to limit the number of drone attacks by the United States in non-combat areas, which is a good move. And he's been measured. There's a dance underway with Iran to see if we can re-engage. They want us to lift the sanctions first. We want them to agree to the deal first. That's going to go back and forth. It is potentially, it's kindling, ready to be lit. So that's a potential real hotspot of all the places in the world that I think the president is keeping an eye on, is how to deal with Iran.
And with all the problems we're having here with our non-believers in the election, you take a look after Brexit was now finally put into place. The EU has come out with a statement, some of the members of the EU, that they can't trust the UK in their post-Brexit talks. There's that little bit of I don't know. It's a break of bond like we've had in this country. It's not quite as severe as in this country, but there's other countries in the EU that are splitting off and not following the rules as well. So, I mean, it must be just the type of the world that we're living in right now.
Well, there is this tribalism, nationalism that has tended to rule the day, and that's because it's a reaction to globalism. And jobs were lost as we sent jobs elsewhere around the world, and it was good overall for big companies, but not so good. The 3 million jobs lost in this country to China, and that's a fact, or elsewhere overseas, affected this country in ways that we're only beginning to really understand and calculate.
And by the way, there is no one political party responsible for that. They were both in on it.
They both bought into this notion that reducing trade barriers, free trade, would lift the world up and therefore be good for the United States. In theory, that's very good, but those who lost out are angry about it, and you can understand why. Going from a well-paying union job that you thought you had for life, if that went away, you would be angry too.
Well, that's the whole thing. In a perfect world, everybody would follow the rules that were set up, but you can't follow those rules. You can't see the countries that are and aren't, and the ones that don't follow the rules don't really care. That's just the type of world we live in, I guess.
Well, there was an excellent article in the New York Times a week and a half ago about that very thing. That it's all. But if you don't follow the rules, and if somebody else doesn't follow the rules and you follow the rules, then you are being played for a sucker, and that's the complaint about China. They don't follow the rules.
Well, Brian, I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about. We'll see what happens today. Hopefully, nothing when we gather again next Thursday.
I look forward to it so much.
Take care, Brian.
Okay, take care.
That is Real News, once again, with our good friend Brian Ross here from Sharon. You can find more on that, of course, at robinhoodradio.com. Click on demand, click on Real News with Brian Ross.